Continuing on where we left off, the crafting of the tabernacle. Exodus 36 and 1. Bezalel and Aholiab, and every wise-hearted man in whom the Lord has put wisdom and understanding to know how to do all the work for the service of the sanctuary shall work according to all that the Lord has commanded. 36 and 2. And Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab, and every able and wise-hearted man in whose mind the Lord had put wisdom and ability, everyone whose heart stirred him up to come to do the work. So here we have the human element coming together to do this great labor in the construction of the tabernacle. Previously, in the first one, we saw how the tabernacle was to be made. We saw the blueprints. In the last chapter, we saw the collecting of items. And now here we see some more of the construction aspect. We see people who have been drawn by the Lord, who have the ability to make this great and wonderful thing. And we even have some whose names are written in here for their contributions in the construction. Exodus 36 and 3. And they received from Moses all the free will offering, which the Israelites had brought for doing the work of the sanctuary, to prepare it for service. And they continue to bring him freewill offerings every morning. So all the materials that are needed for the tabernacle are going to come from the people of Israel, and it's being given under free will. So it's the free will offering. Exodus 36 and 4. And all the wise and able men who were doing work on the sanctuary came, every man from the work he was doing. 36 and 5. And then said to Moses, the people bring much more than enough for doing the work which the Lord commanded to do. 36 and 6. So Moses commanded, and it was proclaimed in all the camp, let no man or woman do anything more for the sanctuary offering. So the people were restrained from bringing. There's this whole list of items. The last chapter was the list of all the items needed for building the tabernacle, which I guess they're referring to as sanctuary now, and that's probably a better word for the tabernacle is a particular part of the sanctuary itself. So they've brought so much stuff. They have way more than they need to craft it. So Moses has to tell the people to relax a little bit. We've got enough. They have the ability to complete what they need. There's ample to work with, and that's just great and fantastic. Exodus 36 and 7. For the stuff they had was sufficient to do all the work and more. 36 and 8. And all the able and wise-hearted men among them who did the work on the tabernacle, men 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, purple, and scarlet stuff, with cherubim skillfully woven on them. 36 and 9. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and its breadth was 4 cubits. All the curtains were one size. So I don't know if it's worth going over all the dimensions and the construction of the tabernacle again, when that was previously looked at in, I think, quite some amount of detail previously when we were looking at the blueprints for it. But what we see here is that they are following the blueprints, following the plans, and making it to the specifications that God gave to Moses when Moses was up on the mountain for the 40 days and 40 nights talking to him. This was the first 40 days and 40 nights, not the second, because he was up there first, did that, got the tablets, came down, saw what was going on. They were doing the idol thing with the molten calf, dropped the tablets, and then he went up in the mountain again for another 40 days and 40 nights. So this was the first set of the 40 days and 40 nights when he was up in the mountain, and that is when he got the instructions for building this tabernacle, the sanctuary, and all that was in it. And it kind of went into detail of the curtains. I guess we could just do a shortened version. So there's going to be the main tent, and the curtains are part of what is used to cover the tent. Exodus 36 and 10. Bezalel coupled 5 curtains one to another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one to another. So these curtains are quite large. They've been made in kind of strips, and Beazel here is joining the strips of curtain together. So they're made in individual sheets of fabric, and he's just kind of bringing them together to make these larger curtains. And there'll be 2 sections, and they're going to have fasteners and stuff, and they join together, so it makes one big curtain, and that goes over top of the tent. So he is the one that's going to be stitching these curtain segments together. So that's pretty cool. That was something I was wondering about in the previous section when it came to the actual construction. And now that I see this, there we go. Another question answered. Exodus 36 and 11. And he made loops of blue on the outer edge of the last curtain in the first set. This he did also on the inner edge of the first curtain in the second set. 36 and 12, 50 loops he made in one curtain, and 50 loops in the edge of the curtain which was the second set. The loops were opposite one another. So this is talking about how these 2 curtain segments are going to be joined together in their modular nature, and that they kind of overlap, or what, not overlap, but intertwine, where they're kind of, the one's offset to the other one, so they can come together really good and make a strong connection that has no gaps in it. The one corresponds to the other one. Exodus 36 and 13. And he made 50 clasps of gold and coupled the curtains together with the clasps so that the tabernacle became one unit. So these were the fittings that we saw previously discussed in the plan. So I guess he was the one to make them. And when they're all in place, we have this big curtain that is used to cover the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. Exodus 36 and 14. And he made 11 curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. 36 and 15. The length of one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the breadth. The 11 curtains were of equal size. 36 and 16. And he coupled 5 curtains by themselves, and the other 6 curtains by themselves. We saw this in the plans. So this second layer that we have here, it kind of, well, one side's longer than the other, and that's so that the one can cover the back and make the back portion of the tabernacle, which is essentially just a giant tent. So the one's a little bit shorter than the other, and the extra length allows it to cover the back side of the tabernacle. Exodus 36:17. And he made 50 loops on the outermost edge of the curtain to be coupled, and 50 loops he made on the inner edge of the second curtain to be coupled. 36 and 18. He made 50 clasps of bronze to couple the tent together into one whole. So this is the second layer, and this one we have bronze instead of gold. The thing that we see when we look at the tabernacle is the closer you get to God, the more gold there is. Then as it kind of works out from the center, we go from gold to bronze, and there's kind of a materialistic materialistic is probably not the right word, but the materials change, and there's all this symbology and stuff with the different metals and what their meaning is. Gold is kind of that real righteous royal color, and then bronze is kind of a strength and endurance. It's cool stuff. Exodus 36 and 19. He made a covering for the tent of ram skins tanned red, and above it a covering of dolphin or porpoise skins. 36 and 20. He made boards of acacia wood for the upright framework of the tabernacle. 36 and 21. The length of a board was 10 cubits, and the breadth of 1 cubit and a half. 36:22. Each board had 2 tendons, projections, to fit into mortises to form a clutch. He did this for all the boards of the tabernacle. So we have 2 more layers on the tent proper. and that would be the ram skins tanned red. So we have this outer red layer. Red, of course, symbol of sacrifice, the symbol of blood. Moving out, we have this dolphin and porpoise skins layer. Some of the other translations have different names of animals for this. We're not entirely 100% sure what this is. We definitely know the rams were the previous one, but these other skins, they're just kind of a more robust and tougher skin on the outside. It's for protection and endurance, and there's symbology and stuff that way. And then from there, we got the creation of these wooden boards that are used inside the tabernacle, and they're kind of thick and wide, and they kind of make a wall or a border around the entire tent surface. And then they have tendons on the bottom of them that stick into sockets to kind of hold them up straight and kind of lock everything in together, as we'll see more of. Exodus 36:23, and he made thus the boards for frames for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side. 36:24, and he made under the 20 boards 40 sockets or bases of silver, 2 sockets under one board for its 2 tendons or hands, and 2 sockets under another board for its 2 tendons. 36:25, for the other side of the tabernacle, the north side, he made 20 boards. 36:26, and there 40 sockets or bases of silver, 2 sockets under each end of each board. 36:27, and for the rear or west side of the tabernacle, he made 6 frame boards. 36:28, and 2 boards he made for each corner of the tabernacle in the rear. 36:29, they were separate below, but linked together at the top with one ring. Thus he made both of them in both corners. 36 and 30, there were 8 boards with 16 sockets or bases of silver, and under the end of each board 2 sockets. When it talks about sockets, it's essentially talking about something very similar to foundation blocks. A block that kind of has a receptacle in it that these boards are able to be placed in, and it kind of holds them upright. And they'd have to be a fairly good fit to prevent them from being all wobbly. But when we saw before, when it talked about these rings and these holes on some of these boards, that's used to wedge them all together so that they don't move anymore, something to kind of secure them down. Exodus 36:31, he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the frame boards of the one side of the tabernacle. 36:32, and 5 bars for the boards of its other side, and 5 bars for the boards at the rear or west side. 36:33, and he made the middle bar pass through halfway up the boards from one end to the other. 36:34, he overlaid the boards and the bars with gold and made their rings of gold as places for the bars. So here we have the creation of some of these bars that are going to be used to hold together the tabernacle. They're going to have those rings that the bars pass through, and it kind of locks everything together. So that's what we got going on there. We do have other things that are similar to bars. They're rods, and those are going to be used for moving around different items in the tabernacle, like the Ark of the Covenant, the showbread, and stuff like that, and even the altar of incense, right? Exodus 36:35, and he made the veil of blue, purple, and scarlet stuff, and fine twined linen, with cherubim skillfully worked. So here we have the veil. So this is the curtain that goes inside of the tabernacle, and it is of a particular design, and of course it has the cherubim on it, which is like an angel, and that's going to be on there along with the color scheme that denotes the importance of it too, right? You got purple, the color of royalty, and just red, the color of sacrifice, and blue, the color of the sky, and the color of heaven. So there's a lot of symbology and stuff with that. And this is just kind of something to act as a separation. So we have the Ark of the Covenant, and then there's a veil to separate it from the rest of the tabernacle. Exodus 36:36. For the veil he made 4 pillars of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 sockets, or bases of silver. 36:37. And he made a screen for the tent door of blue, purple, and scarlet stuff, and fine twined linen embroidered. 36:38. And he made 5 pillars of it with their hooks, and overlaid their ornamental tops and joinings with gold, but their 5 sockets were of bronze. So we had the inner veil, and now we got kind of the outer door. So as you move away from the center, as you move away from the ark, and I guess the more important thing, which is probably the mercy seat, we go down from the gold to the silver, or the gold to the bronze, right? Like it's priorities of metals, and the most sought after metals, the better metals are used towards the center, the gold and the silver. Then as we get further away, then we got the bronze, right? And they're all important and distinct. So we have other components here being made. So the rest of the tabernacle, I think we got the different coverings, and now we had the frame being made for it, and the sockets, and now we have the veils to separate the Holy of Holies from the holy place. So that's kind of cool. And the front door, the covering there. So I think we have the tabernacle, but we don't have the items that go inside the tabernacle yet, as well as the tabernacle court. So this chapter looks like it just kind of covered the tabernacle proper. Exodus 37:1. Beazel made the ark of acacia wood. 2 cubits and a half was the length of it. A cubit and a half was the breadth of it, and a cubit and a half was the height of it. So we were told in the instructions for making the ark to make it out of the acacia wood, then to overlay it all with gold. So it looks like he has followed the directions for that and is making it to the specifications. So it looks like it's made of wood, then the gold is added afterwards. I was kind of wondering if it was like that. I don't know if it was like made of multiple boards and they covered them all in gold and then kind of put them all together, but I guess that would be the wrong way to do it. So here we go. Bezel. He did it the right way, and this is probably looking pretty good. The ark is kind of cool too, because it's kind of a box without a lid until we get the mercy seat placed on top of it. So it's quite interesting. The mercy seat is really its own distinct thing and has its own importance. Like, yeah, it sits on top of the Ark of the Covenant, and it acts as if it is the lid, but it's not really a lid. It's its own thing, and the Ark is just kind of doing its own thing as well. So I don't know, it's interesting. Exodus 37:2. He overlaid it with pure gold, within and without, and made a molding or crown of gold to go around the top of it. So here we go. Now it's been covered in gold, and he has put some sort of decorative border around the top of the Ark of the Covenant. So it probably looks really cool. Exodus 37:3. He cast 4 rings of gold for it, for its 4 corners, 2 rings on either side. So we have these rings that are attached to the Ark of the Covenant, and this makes it so that it is able to be moved. Exodus 37:4. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. 37:5. He put the poles through the rings at the side of the ark to carry it. So there we go. Now we have the poles attached to the Ark of the Covenant. Now, one of the things that was kind of spelled out by God beforehand was that the poles on the Ark of the Covenant are to never be removed, that they're always to be attached. Whereas the other items, the poles are detachable. Exodus 37:6. Bezalel made the mercy seat of pure gold, 2 cubits and a half its length, and 1 cubit and a half its breadth. 37 and 7. And he made 2 cherubim of beaten gold on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. He made them. 37 and 8. 1 cherub at one end and one at the other end, of one piece with the mercy seat. He made the cherubim at its 2 ends. 37 and 9. And the cherubim spread out their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, with their faces to each other, looking down towards the mercy seat. So here we have the description of the mercy seat and what it looked like after its creation. It's got 2 angels on it on both the ends of the mercy seat, and they're facing towards the center, facing down towards where the tablets of the 10 Commandments will be, and their wings are kind of jetting out, and it looks pretty cool. Exodus 37 and 10. Bezalel made the showbread table of acacia wood. It was 2 cubits long, a cubit wide, and a cubit and a half high. 37:11. He overlaid it with pure gold and made a molding of gold around the top. 37 and 12. And he made a border around it just under the top, a hand's breadth wide, and a molding of gold around the border. So the showbread table holds showbread, and there's going to be 12 loaves of bread that need to be on the showbread table at all times. Now, this border that's placed around it, this is going to help keep the showbread in position when they're moving it around. It's also going to be decorative and look pretty, but a lot of it is when they're moving around and their wanderings or whatever, that the bread doesn't fall off of the showbread table, because that would be a bad thing. So it's kind of got a bit of a lip on there that's of a decent size so that the bread will not fall off the table, even if they're going over bumpy terrain. Exodus 37:13. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and fastened the rings on the 4 corners, that they were at its 4 legs. 37:14. Close to the border were the rings, the places for the poles to pass through to carry the showbread table. 37:15. Bezalel made the poles of acacia wood to carry the showbread table, and overlaid them with gold. 37:16. He made of pure gold the vessels which were to be on the table, its plates and dishes for bread, its bowls and flagons for pouring liquid sacrifices. So there we go. There is the table of the showbread in all of its wonderfulness. It's a pretty cool table. I mean, realistically, this is probably the coolest table ever made in the history of humanity. So, Exodus 37:17. And he made the lampstand of pure gold. Its base and the shafts were made of hammered work. Its cups, its knobs, and its flowers were of one piece with it. 37:18. There were 6 branches out of the sides of the lampstand, 3 branches out of one side of it, and 3 branches out the other side of it. 37:19. 3 cups made like almond bosoms in one branch, each with a knob and a flower, and 3 cups made like almond bosoms in the opposite branch, each with a knob and a flower. And so for the 6 branches going out of the lampstand. Lampstand, also known as the menorah, which is the cool name for it, is very interesting. So it's all made out of hammerwork. So it wasn't something forged, it wasn't something cast. It was all hammered out. So that would require a tremendous amount of skill. And if you look at pictures of this, some of them have the branches off being more like straight lines, and then they kind of don't curve so much. And then there's other depictions where they have them all being kind of curvy and tapering that way. And I don't know which one it was. I mean, we'll find out someday, but It's interesting either way, and it's got a lot of decorative things on it as well. Exodus 37 and 20. On the shaft of the lampstand were 4 cups made like almond bosoms, with knobs and flowers, one at the top. 37:21. And a knob under each pair of branches, of one piece with the lampstand, for the 6 branches going out of it. 37:21. Their knobs and their branches were of one piece with it, all of it hammered, work of pure gold. 37:23. And he made of pure gold its 7 lamps, its snuffers, and its ashtray. 37:24. Of a talent of pure gold he made the lampstand and all its utensils. So this is a very elaborate lampstand, and it's got decorative things on it. I'm not entirely sure what an almond bosom looks like, but it's probably pretty neat, I guess. And we have this description of a talent of gold, so like 50 pounds of gold to make this. So it's a pretty big unit. So I think that's like 25 kilograms. This is a little bit of an approximation. I mean, it could be another 50% bigger than that as well for the different types of talents as far as weights and their conversions go. Exodus 37:25. And Bezalel made the incense altar of acacia wood. Its top was a cubit square, and it was 2 cubits high. The horns were one piece with it. 37:26. He overlaid it with pure gold, its top, its sides, round about, and its horns. Also he made a rim around it of gold. 37:27. And he made 2 rings of gold for under its rim on its 2 opposite sides, as places for the poles to pass through to carry it. 37:28. And he made the poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. 37:29. He made the holy anointing oil, symbol of the Holy Spirit, and the pure fragrant incense after the perfumer's art. The altar of incense is kind of interesting. In the location of the tabernacle, it sits in front of that veil, in front of the ark, so it's kind of like the last bastion. But it's got that little lip on there, and the incense are placed on it, and they're kind of lit on fire, or they kind of smolder away, and it has a very distinctive smell. We do have the description of all the items that are used to make this incense, because God has an official incense that he likes, so that's kind of cool. So he's doing that after the perfumer's art, so pretty neat stuff. And the anointing oil, it's a little different, but it's got different purposes than the incense. So a lot of stuff getting built here either way.